The story begins deep inside a dangerous dungeon where three powerful adventurers have just finished an intense battle. Working together, they managed to defeat hundreds of demons and even forced the Demon King to retreat. One of the warriors, named Goran, is extremely proud of what they accomplished. Even though they failed to kill the Demon King, he believes they dealt enough damage to leave him badly wounded. The blonde hero, named Eric, agrees with him. He says the injuries they inflicted should be enough to keep the Demon King from attacking again for quite some time. The third member of the group, a mage named Luck, seems far less interested in celebrating their victory. Instead, he keeps staring at one of the Demon King's severed arms that was cut off during the battle. Goran and Eric tell Luck to stop worrying about the arm and simply enjoy the fact that they survived. They jokingly tease him by saying that being such a nerd about strange things like this is probably the reason he still has not found a girlfriend. Changing the subject, Eric says they should hurry back home because the battle caused him to miss the birth of his child. Luck hears that and says moments like that are exactly why he has chosen to stay single. But Eric and Goran immediately disagree with him. They explain that having a family should never be seen as a burden. To them, it is one of the greatest blessings a person can have. Before the conversation can continue, a large group of demons suddenly appears and surrounds the three adventurers from every direction. Luck quickly studies the situation. He immediately realizes that after everything they have already been through, there is no chance they can win another direct battle in their exhausted condition. Without wasting a second, Luck creates three magic circles at the same time. He then tells Goran and Eric to leave everything to him and escape while they still can. Eric and Goran immediately shout back at him. They tell him to stop saying such ridiculous things because there is no way they are going to abandon him. Luck does not argue with them. Instead, he silently casts an earth barrier. A massive wall of earth suddenly rises between them, trapping Eric and Goran outside the battlefield while leaving Luck alone to face the demons. Eric and Goran desperately pound on the barrier and yell at Luck to stop this madness. However, Luck refuses to listen. He calmly reminds them that they both have families waiting for them back home. That is exactly why they have to survive, even if it means leaving him behind. As the demons surge toward him, Luck unleashes an energy spell that tears through the first wave and drops them where they stand. Standing over the bodies, he recognizes the uncomfortable truth that he's already pushing the edge of what he has left, and the demons show absolutely no sign of stopping. Things take a sharp turn for the worse when the demon general suddenly materializes, grabs him by the throat, and begins draining his life force directly. When she tosses him aside and walks toward him slowly, clearly expecting to finish things, Luck turns her own technique against her, using the same mana-absorbing skill right back on her and exercising her on the spot. That kind of instant adaptation is only possible because of a unique learning ability Luck carries that allows him to absorb and replicate any spell used against him. What follows is several months of grinding through that same dungeon, cutting down demons without end. Whenever exhaustion caught up with him, Luck would cast a spell called Marionette, a technique that keeps his body fighting on its own even while he sleeps, letting him recover without ever fully stopping. After months of this cycle, Luck begins to wonder whether he's finally cleared the place out. Then the Demon King suddenly comes back, hurling a massive fireball straight at him. Luck throws up a barrier and absorbs the hit, genuinely stunned that the Demon King has recovered this quickly given the beating he took the last time around. He charges in and attempts his Drain Touch, but the Demon King counters with an invisible barrier that absorbs the skill entirely. From there, Luck finds himself being steadily overwhelmed, and the situation reaches a low point when the Demon King's hexblade shatters his sword completely. Left without a weapon, Luck abandons close combat and shifts entirely to sorcery, firing off his imprisoning hellfire and Drain Touch simultaneously. Both attacks connect at the same time, putting the Demon King in an impossible position. He can either burn alive in the hellfire or have his life force consumed by the Drain Touch. He has no good answer for either. A blinding explosion follows, and when the light finally fades, Luck crawls up from the ground and takes stock of the situation. The Demon King is finished. He lets out a quiet celebration, takes the hexblade as his prize, and heads for the surface. Once he gets there, he quickly realizes he has no idea where he actually is. On top of that, his adventure card was incinerated somewhere during the fighting, leaving him completely broke and without any form of identification to his name. After that, he heads to the royal capital. The moment moment he arrives, the guards stop him and call him out for walking around naked, and they end up giving him some new clothes to wear. His first thought is to go straight to Goran's house. When he gets there, he's shocked at how massive the mansion is. He asks right away to see Goran, but the butler turns him down, assuming Luck is just another fan trying to meet him. After that, Luck decides to head to the Adventurers Guild to get his guild card reissued. On the way, he notices a stone statue standing in the middle of town that wasn't there before. He asks a passerby about it, and the man is stunned that Luck doesn't recognize who it is. He explains that the statue is of Saint Luck, the famous hero who fought in the dungeon to hold back the demons for an entire decade. Luck suddenly realizes the statue is of him, and that everyone must have assumed he died in the dungeon, which is why they built it in his honor. He is also surprised to learn that he spent 10 years fighting there without even realizing it. After that, he finally makes his way to the Adventurers Guild, where Goran recognizes him instantly. Goran pulls him into the back room and embraces him, crying tears of joy and telling him how glad he is that he came back alive. Luck then starts stuffing his face with cakes, since it's been so long since he's had real food. Eventually, Goran takes the cakes away from him, insisting he needs to eat rice gruel instead to keep a balanced diet. Eric then arrives in style, carrying the rice gruel himself, and tells Luck how happy he is to see him again. Luck simply tells him to calm down, saying the sight of a grown man crying doesn't sit well with him. Setting that aside, Eric points out that both he and Goran have visibly aged, while Luck, strangely, looks younger than before. Luck glances at his reflection and realizes it's true. He really has gotten younger. He guesses it must be the result of absorbing the Demon King's life force after defeating him. Goran and Eric are left completely speechless the moment they learn that Luck actually defeated the Demon King. Eric explains that the kingdom has been busy preparing its military in case the Demon King ever returned. But since Luck has already beaten him, it's now clear that he deserves some kind of reward. What catches Luck most off guard is the moment Goran refers to him as Your Majesty. Goran explains that Eric became king after the previous king decided he deserved the throne, since Eric was a noble who took part in driving away the Demon King. Having taken part in that same effort himself, Goran ended up being named Grand Master of the Adventurers Guild. Along with that, Luck also learns that Eric had given him a noble title for the part he played in driving away the Demon King. That's why the statue had been built, since everyone assumed he died in the line of duty. Hearing this makes Luck wonder if being alive now might actually cause problems. Since the whole kingdom believes he's dead, Goran and Eric both see his point, so Luck decides to let the world go on thinking Saint Luck is dead, while he starts over from scratch as an ordinary adventurer. Goran wonders if that might be far too dull for someone of his level, given that he's an S-rank sorcerer, but Luck tells him it'll be fine, since he's always liked a good adventure. It doesn't take long for Goran to get him a new adventurer's card, this time under the name Luck instead of Luck. His true stats are also hidden on the card, so to anyone looking, he'll appear to be nothing more than an ordinary F-rank adventurer. The next day, as Luck heads out toward the guild, a blonde girl spots him from a distance and watches him with quiet curiosity, wondering just who he is. Luck arrives at the guild shortly after and is introduced to the receptionist, Aron. He tells her he'd like to take on a goblin extermination quest, but she advises against it, assuming he's just an inexperienced rookie who's likely to get himself killed. That's when a group of adventurers calls out to him, suggesting they team up for the quest together. Aron likes the sound of that and quickly stamps her approval. Outside, the two adventurers introduce themselves as Ario and Ginny. Ario is a mage, while Ginny is an archer. Luck introduces himself simply as a warrior, and with that settled, the three of them set off toward the goblin hideout. Along the way, Luck notices that Ginny is a genuinely skilled scout. She sticks close to the trail and reads it with sharp instinct, quick to catch details others might miss. Because of that, she doesn't strike him as someone who truly belongs at F rank. Even so, Ginny seems to have underestimated just how many goblins they're dealing with, since neither of them notices a set of camouflaged footprints. Goblins aren't clever enough to hide their own tracks, which means something else, something smarter, is likely leading them. Locke briefly considers warning the other two, but decides against it. Since he's essentially training them, he wants them to learn through their own mistakes and grow from the experience. They eventually reach the entrance to the Goblin Cave, and after scouting the area for a while, Locke offers to take the lead while while Ario and Ginny provide covering fire from behind. Working together, the group manages to take down more than 30 goblins, though the strain is clearly starting to wear on Ario and Ginny, both running low on mana and arrows. Noticing this, Ario suggests they pull back and retreat, and Locke agrees it's the right call. But just then, a deep roar echoes through the cave. The Goblin Lord has awakened. Locke finds the whole situation strange, since the goblins have been showing an unusual level of coordination all along, almost as if someone has been directing them from the shadows. Just as the Goblin Lord gets ready to attack, a beast girl suddenly appears out of nowhere, throwing herself into the fight and warning the Goblin Lord to stay out of her way. That was episode 1. Subscribe to not miss the next part and watch the next video on screen. I heard that you addicted to them sands now, girl.